I'm Jeremy Tiang, and it's my honor and pleasure to serve as your host tonight as we celebrate and support Words Without Borders, the home of international literature. As a writer and translator, I've had a long-standing relationship with Words Without Borders as an admirer, contributor, and editor of folios of literature from Taiwan and Macau. They've truly been an artistic home for me. We come together tonight to celebrate Words Without Borders and to affirm the importance of this vital platform for the world's literary voices. Words Without Borders' mission of supporting international voices and connecting readers through literature couldn't feel more urgent in our current moment of political polarization, conflict, and uncertainty. The words of writers, as you will hear Ananda Devi say later in our program, are the voice of defiance, of compassion, the words that bring down walls. In times like those we're living through, we urgently need their voices and their words. What's more, by being here tonight, you are affirming the power of writing that connects us across linguistic, cultural, and geographic borders, even and especially in challenging and uncertain times. We have a meaningful and inspiring evening ahead. You'll hear poetry read by amazingly talented Words Without Borders authors and translators, and we'll have the opportunity to listen to inspiring words from members of our global community. Alongside this feast of words, you will enjoying an actual feast in the company of the brilliant authors and translators hosting your tables. Following dinner, you will have the opportunity to make a real difference in our work and in the world by showing your support for Words Without Borders Campus, our innovative education program that gives students access to global writing that reflects their cultures and languages and opens their minds to a wider world. But first, I have the important job of introducing you to Words Without Borders' new Executive Director, Lissy Jacquet. Those of you lucky enough to have met Lissy will know that she's one of the world's greatest champions of literature and translation. As the director of the American Literary Translators Association, she transformed the organization, dramatically expanded its budgets, programs, and impact. I first met Lissy when we were both fledgling translators in the collective Sedilla and Company, and have since been impressed by her wide-ranging career, not only as an acclaimed translator of Arabic, particularly for her work on Minor Detail by the Palestinian author Adania Shibli, long-listed for the Booker Prize, and MBA finalist, but also for Lissy's advocacy and leadership within the translation community and publishing industry. I couldn't imagine a better fit for an organization that centers the work of translators while expanding the audience for writers from across the globe. Please join me in giving Lissy a warm welcome to Words Without Borders!
Thank you, Jeremy. Good evening, I'm Lissy Jacquet. It is such a joy to be standing here with you all tonight. As a translator myself, and as someone who's worked in the field of international literature for over a decade, it's a great honor to be taking the helm of an organization that I've so long admired. As Jeremy mentioned, I come to Words Without Borders from the American Literary Translators Association, where I served as executive director for the past 7 years. In advocating for translators there, I developed a strong sense of what they need to thrive. One of those things being organizations just like Words Without Borders, which are crucial to the future of international literature. Joining Words Without Borders is also very meaningful for me on a personal level. As an Arabic translator myself, my very first paid translation was in fact published in Words Without Borders. So when I tell you now and when you hear later tonight how Words Without Borders is doing no less than changing the field of international literature by acting as a springboard for fledgling and emerging translators and writers, I know that to be true because I felt that powerful impact myself. As a translator and as a reader, though, I've always considered Words Without Borders to be the paragon of a global literary conversation. And I will say, I'm not alone in that sentiment. This spring, Words Without Borders received the Firecracker Award for General Excellence, which is an excellent name for an award, from the community for literary magazines, and presses. The judges wrote that publishing translations can be complex and delicate work, and Words Without Borders has set the bar high. The work Words Without Borders publishes reflects a radically capacious, global vision of literature, as well as an unstinting commitment to the art of translation and to the precise and dedicated work of translators. Words Without Borders believes in this radically capacious global vision of literature, and I know that you are here tonight because you believe in that vision too. I know, as you do, that in the words of Muhammad al-Zakzu, a writer who I recently translated, reading is an act of resistance, an act that confronts brutality and preserves one's humanity. And it is thanks to you being here tonight and to your generous support that we will continue to publish marginalized voices that urgently need to be heard. We will continue to reach students, helping them to see themselves and their heritage reflected in the curriculum, and helping to build the future readership for global writing. But before we hear from our first reader of the evening, our first two readers, I want to take a moment to recognize the incredible staff and dedicated board of our wonderful organization. May I ask our board members and staff to please stand and be recognized? And I also want to recognize Karen Phillips, Words Without Borders' previous executive director, from whom I'm taking the torch. You, the people in this room, know what a thoughtful and inspiring leader Karen has been for this organization. And what you may not yet know is that she was also an unofficial mentor for me early in my career, and grew from a mentor to a cherished colleague and one who I continue to admire immensely. So for me, personally, it is a very special honor to be building on the incredible work that Karen did for Words Without Borders in her tenure, and as we move onwards into our third decade. Thank you, Karen. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce us to our first two readers of the evening, Egyptian poet and writer Iman Mersal, whose work, in fact, I first read in Words Without Borders nearly 2 decades ago, and writer and translator Yasmine Seale. Iman and Yasmine, welcome.
احتفال. وقع خيط القصة في الأرض فنزلت على ركبتي أبحث عنه. كان هناك ذلك الاحتفال الوطني ولم أرى إلا الأحذية المستوردة والبيادات. على مقعد في قطار قالت لي أفغانية لم ترى أفغانستان الانتصار ممكن. تمنيت يومها لو سألتها هل هذه نبوءة؟ بدأت تهتهي بالفارسية كأنها خالدة من كتاب المبتدئين، وهي كأنها تلتقطها من خزانة ملابس قتل صاحبها في حريق. لنفرض أن الشعب وصل عن بكرة أبيه إلى الميدان، أن الشعب ليس كلمة قبيحة كما أن لا أحد يعرف ما معنى بكرة أبيه، إذا كيف حضرت كل هذه الكلاب البوليسية إلى هنا ومن غطى وجوهها بأقنعة ملونة؟ الأهم من ذلك، أين سقط الخيط الذي يفصل بين الأعلام والملابس الداخلية، بين الأناشيد والنشيد، بين الله وكائناته التي تمشي على الأرض لتدفع الضرائب؟ الاحتفال، كأنني لم أنطق هذه الكلمة من قبل، كأنها خرجت لتوها من قاموس إغريقي، حيث رجع أهالي سبارتا منتصرين إلى سبارتا ولم يجفوا دم الفرس على التروس والرماح. ربما لم يكن هناك قطار ولا نبوءة ولا أفغانية جلست أمامي لساعتين. أن الله يضلل ذاكرة مخلوقاته من وقت لآخر ليتسلى، ولكن المؤكد أنني من موقعي هنا بين الأحذية والبيادات لن أعرف من بالضبط انتصر على من.
Thank you, Iman. It's an honor to stand with you and to read the English translation of your poem by Robin Cresswell. A celebration. The thread of the story fell to the ground, so I went down on my hands and knees to hunt for it. This was at one of those patriotic celebrations, and all I could see were imported shoes and jackboots. Once, on a train, an Afghan woman who had never seen Afghanistan said to me, "Triumph is possible." Is that a prophecy, I wanted to ask. But my Persian was straight from a beginner's textbook, and she looked, while listening to me, as though she were picking through a wardrobe whose owner had died in a fire. Let's assume the people arrived en masse at the square. Let's assume the people isn't a dirty word and that we know the meaning of en masse. Then how did all these police dogs get here? Who fitted them with party-colored masks? More importantly, where is the line between flags and lingerie, anthems and anathemas, God and his creations, the ones who were put on earth to pay taxes? Celebration, as if I'd never truly said the word before, as if it came from a Greek lexicon in which triumphant Spartans march home with Persian blood still wet on their spears and shields. Perhaps there was no train, no prophecy, no Afghan woman sitting across from me for 2 hours. At times, for his own amusement, God leads our memories astray. What I can say is that from down here, among the shoes and jackboots, I'll never know for certain who triumphed over whom.
Thank you, Iman and Yasmine, for that stunning reading. How incredible it is that Words Without Borders published Iman's work back in 2006, and that she joins us here tonight, now the winner of the National Translation Award, the Sheikh Zayed Book Award, and the James Tate Black Prize. Over the years, Words Without Borders has given so many other writers and translators a platform early in their careers. In fact, over the past 21 years, Words Without Borders has published writing by more than 4,600 authors and translators from 146 countries, translated from an astonishing 140 languages, and all available to readers for free. It is this bold and inclusive vision of literature, one that uplifts writing from places and languages all too often underrepresented in mainstream publishing, that brings us together tonight. If you will, please raise your glass to Words Without Borders and to the writers, translators, editors, readers, teachers, and students who make this work possible. My script says pause. I think that's where everyone takes a drink. We are always looking to expand the conversation and to broaden the diversity of literary perspectives available to readers. This year, we were proud to feature a Palestinian writing series, guest edited by National Book Award finalist Lina Khalaf-Tufala, as well as an issue of writing from the Francophone South Pacific. With your support, next year, we will publish a collection on global disability and a spotlight on indigenous Amasi literature from North Africa. We are always working to expand to new countries, not only for readers of the magazine, but also for students. And you will have the opportunity to help us do that just after dinner. But now, it is my pleasure to welcome writer and Pulitzer Prize finalist Elif Batuman, who joins us tonight as our honorary chair. Elif, welcome!
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be here tonight at the same point in the space-time continuum on the subject of this space-time geopolitical point. It's not, how should one say this, completely delightful. I have some notes, but it is a particularly appropriate point for celebrating and recommitting to the power of storytelling. These days, when we read the news, we rarely see international literature or literary translation in the headlines. What we do see is a lot of stories about failures of communication, fake news, polarization, the limitations of logical, reasoned discourse when it comes to changing people's minds. Sometimes we express surprise about this. How can people uphold these weird political opinions against reasoned arguments? But should we be surprised? Our political opinions aren't determined by reasoned arguments. They're determined early in life by stories. We're born into complex stories that have been going on for generations that sweep us up and unfold us. Our earliest intellectual energies go into trying to decipher them. And to this task, we bring tremendous powers of observation and a deeply felt sense of fairness. And I think this is something that literature tells us more clearly than any other discourse, that the powers of observation and an innate sense of fairness are already very, very strong in very small children. As we grow up, we learn the reasoned political arguments, and we choose the ones that resonate with our opinions. And then we learn to mistake the arguments for the opinions. We learn to think that our political opinions are based on thought itself, as opposed, for some reason, to feeling, when in fact our opinions are formed by the combination of thinking and feeling, which is the provenance of literature. That's why you can't counter the truth of someone's lived and felt story with a logical argument, or even with data, but you can expand the truth of a lived story with more stories. The greatest political tool we have, the most powerful tool for persuasion, is the sum of stories about how individual people came to feel a certain way. The name for that sum of stories is world literature, and that's what we're coming together today to celebrate. I am not telling you people anything you don't already know. Everyone in this room has already made a serious commitment to the power of stories, to the power, one might say, of words, to cross the most hardened national, ideological, and identity-related lines, which we might call borders. Even so, living day to day, reading the kind of news we're all reading all the time, it's easy to forget how important and how powerful this kind of work is. And that's what makes Nights Tonight so important, so we can remember together, so we can remind each other, and so we can renew each other's commitment to this vital work. Thank you. Join me in welcoming the chair of tonight's event and an incredible friend of Words Without Borders, David Drake.
Good evening, and thank you, Elif. That was incredible, I thought. My name is David Drake, and I'm the president of the Crown Publishing Group at Henson Random House, and it's been a deep honor for me to serve as the Gala Chair for this vital organization. And I have to say, it's just such a particular pleasure for me to be in this room with all of you tonight, so many friends and colleagues in the publishing community, and to be in a room that's filled with writers and translators. Because literature and translation has played such an important role throughout my life, introducing me, I think, from the very first days that I was a reader to different perspectives, different ideas, experiences, and cultures, and really filling me with a sense of wonder and a curiosity about the world that I still have to this day. And thinking of the world that we are in today, a world in which it seems that increasingly we are in divided enclaves, divided and sometimes inhospitable enclaves that are defined by ideology, politics, ethnicity, or national origin. And in that context, the work that Words Without Borders does in championing world writing and translation, and in enabling and supporting the flow of ideas and stories across borders, feels more critical than ever. So I'm really glad to be a part of this here tonight and to support Words Without Borders. Writing in translation brings the world closer. And by giving us access, and particularly giving young people access to dazzling writers from around the globe, I think Words Without Borders reminds us of the alchemic power of literature in all of its forms, to encourage understanding between communities and cultures and to bind us to our common humanity. So I applaud everyone who works with Words Without Borders for the great and important work that you do. So thank you. I'd like to take a moment now just to recognize the corporate champions who joined me in making this evening such a success. So I'd first like to recognize and thank Apple Books, tonight's cocktail hour presenter, thank you, as well as Penguin Random House, our benefactor supporters, and then thank you also to our sponsors, the Cheney Agency, the Jackpot Group, England Content Group, the Library of Arabic Literature, the Macmillan Publishers, thank you, WWB Campus Associates, and always great supporters, the Politics of Sexual Violence Initiative, the Santa Magdalena Foundation, and Simon & Schuster. Thank you also to our patrons, London Literary Scouting, and Sheikh Zayed Bahoud. I'd also like to thank each and every one of you here who purchased tickets and ambassador packages at tonight's event. Words Without Borders simply could not do the essential work that it does without the support of every person who showed up here tonight. So thank you for that. And you will have an opportunity, a special opportunity, to show that support after dinner this evening. I am delighted to share that my friend Ai Weiwei has made I think a wonderful gift in support of Words Without Borders. We had the honor at Crown of publishing Weiwei's beautiful memoir, 1,000 Years of Joys and Sorrows, translated by Alan H. Barr. And Weiwei wanted, which is an amazing book, by the way, and Weiwei wanted to be with us tonight, but he couldn't. So in his stead, he has donated an original work of his art. It's playful and provocative, as he generally is, and one of you will have the opportunity to take it home after tonight. So we're excited about that. And then also thanks to Penguin Random House, you will have the opportunity to bid on copies of The Vegetarian by Han Kang, as well as a bottle of champagne for your title. And I have to say, we were delighted when Han Kang was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. Both because we're proud to publish her at PRH, but also because she has been a long-time contributor to Words Without Borders. And I think that speaks to the centrality of this organization to the entire publishing community. So again, thank you. And now, before we break for dinner, let's just take a moment to hear the words of Words Without Borders writers and translators from around the world. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jenny Croft,
And Boris Derluc.
and I'm a translator and a writer.
And I'm a translator as well.
Hi, my name is Kareem James Abu Zaid. I'm an Egyptian-American translator from Arabic.
Hi, I'm Ananda Devi, a writer from Mauritius.
My name is Arunabha Sinha. I translate Bengali fiction and poetry into English.
Hi everyone, I'm Sabrina Yassi coming to you from Oakland, California.
My name is Mariana Suleimanova and I'm a literary translator from Russian, currently based in Philadelphia.
Hi, my name is Mirgul Kali. I'm a Kazakh literary translator based in Oakland, California.
My name is Ana Selimovic. I translate from Bosnian, Croatian, Montenegrin, Serbian, or Serbo-Croatian.
Words Without Borders means the world to me because it brings me writings from all over the world in translation. Writings that I would never be able to access in normal course.
Words Without Borders is really important to both of us because it's by far the most rigorous online source of new international literature and forgotten classics, and it's also the very first place in the United States where I ever published a translation of Olga Tokarczuk,
I did not know that.
a Nobel laureate.
Wow.
I love Words Without Borders because it meets global authors and literature on their own terms, irrespective of the standards and expectations of English language literature.
I've been contributing translations to Words Without Borders for over 12 years now. Works from Palestine, Sudan, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, and Tunisia.
As a Yugoslav American translator, I'm grateful to Words Without Borders for featuring the work of translators of all shapes and sizes, including those like me, who are emerging and whose first language isn't English.
Words Without Borders publishes an incredibly diverse and compelling selection of poetry, prose, nonfiction, drama, and graphic literature from around the world. If I were to imagine my dream bookstore, it would look a lot like Words Without Borders, filled with brilliant translations of works from many different languages.
I am also the recipient of the 2024 Words Without Borders Momentum Grant for Early Career Translators, funded by the Malecha Family Foundation. I am incredibly grateful to Words Without Borders for the important work that they do in expanding the global literary and political conversation, amplifying underrepresented and marginalized voices and perspectives, celebrating and spotlighting translation as an art form, and giving me a space to debut as a literary translator and bring new narratives and stories into the Anglosphere.
It is a place to find new and cutting-edge texts, as well as an ever-expanding depository of humanities, languages, and literatures.
Words Without Borders are important for me because the words of writers are the voice of defiance, of poetry, of compassion. They are the words that bring down walls.
Thank you, Words Without Borders.
Thank you to Words Without Borders.
Thank you, Words Without Borders.
Thank you, WWB.
What a wonderful thing to hear from Words Without Borders writers and translators from across the globe. And thank you, David, and to everyone in the publishing sector here tonight, who's helping to broaden readers' experience of the world and make more space for international literature. David mentioned Han Kang, this year's Nobel laureate in literature, whom Words Without Borders published back in 2014, a decade ago, before her novel was published in English. This means that Words Without Borders is now home to 9 laureates of the Nobel Prize in Literature, a stunning number. Can we get it to 10? That's where you come in. The writers you find in Words Without Borders today will be those winning Nobel Prizes 10 or 20 years from now. Words Without Borders does the vital work of seeking out writers who are not yet available in English, pairing them with the right translator, and promoting their work far and wide so that they can connect with readers and, in many cases, find a publisher. So that's why you're here tonight, to uplift authors like Han Kang, who appear in Words Without Borders before going on to be recognized on the world stage, and to support Words Without Borders as we continue to publish daring and incisive writing. Now we'll break for a delicious meal, and when we return, we'll be joined by Annie Sawasti for a very special opportunity to support international literature in the classroom. I see the waiters hovering in the wings, and so, bon appetit! See you on the other side.
¿Qué adjetivos pueden usar para describir a...?
What stood out to me in Marco's visit today was how he tried to connect with the students he was presenting to or speaking to. He asked about our experiences with immigration, if we have any, our families.
I feel like I could really see myself in him because I obviously grew around a Hispanic household similar to him, so it was something I could really relate to.
Some parts that I connected with from his life is missing his food, because I'm not from here, I'm Ecuadorian, so I also miss my food a lot, and I just felt kind of seen.
I really enjoyed his telling of immigration. Being a first generation student myself, I really connected and felt that his stories kind of spoke to me.
When he was talking about immigration as well, and then being bullied for being different even in your own country, I kind of connected to that a bit.
When he asked us to write about what happened when my parents came here and the journey they took to get here, it really reminded me of all the times me and my parents would have conversations about the many different stories about coming here, what happened while they were here.
We don't really get to meet or see a lot of the authors we read about in literature or in that class Spanish, so it was cool to be able to talk with him personally one-on-one.
In usual classes we just talk, and we just talk about an author and their experiences, but we never get to see what their actual thoughts are or ask them questions directly, which was really interesting having him be here and be able to ask him anything we wanted to.
I feel like it really gives this school more of a outside view of these writers, instead of just listening to our teacher all day. We get these writers coming in.
That definitely was a once in a lifetime opportunity.
I think it's important to get to know authors from other parts of the world, because we don't know what their experiences is like, and we should be more open-minded. That way, if we ever encounter someone with a similar situation or experience, we know what they might be feeling.
I think a lot of the reading we do in school typically is from authors from America, and I think it kind of limits our sphere of knowledge and how much we're able to learn. I think there's only so much that you can talk about without having the firsthand experience yourself.
To actually have someone bring their work into your space and then talk about their work is very personal, and it's very encouraging. It encourages you to write and to learn and to just interact with the world, and it allows you to see that the world is so much bigger than just one high school, even if it feels like it is just one high school.
But in all sincerity, your support tonight is going to do so much good in the world for young people and for literature. Thank you for making a difference tonight. And now, to conclude our program this evening, we have the great fortune to hear from one last reader, the brilliant translator, Tess Lewis. Please join me in welcoming Tess.
It is such a pleasure to celebrate with you all tonight. Words Without Borders from the very beginning has always seemed to me like a skeleton key that opens up worlds, past and present, real, imaginary, and we didn't know how much we needed it until it showed up. About a dozen years ago, I began contributing with a feature about Austrian writers, and one of the writers is the poet Maya Handelot, whose poem I'll read tonight, and she inhabits that no man's land, she calls it, between languages, and she's written a poem about it. I'll read it first in German and then in my English translation. Übersetzen. Liegt zwischen allen Sprachen eine Zone Dunkelheit, ein schwarzer Fluss, der Wörter und Geschichten aufnimmt und verwandelt. Hier müssen sich die Sätze ausziehen, strömen, schwimmen lernen, das Gedächtnis nicht verlieren, das in ihren Körpern nistet, ein geheimer Impuls. Wird das Blau der Ablei ein Violett sein, wenn es ankommt auf der anderen Seite, und die rote Bergamotte eine Birne, zimtig süß. Wird meine Schleier eine Flosse finden im Licht der neuen Sprache, wird sie kriechen lernen müssen oder aufrecht gehen. Weiß die Sprache, eine andere an sich zu ziehen oder nur vor sich zu weisen? Kann denn jedes Wort den Übergang riskieren? Glauben, es sei unverwundbar, in Pech gebadet und gestellt. In English, from a collection that was published in 2020 by Archipelago Books. Thank you, Jill Schoolman. Translation. Is there a zone of darkness between all languages? A black river that swallows words and stories and transforms them? Here, sentences must disrobe, begin to roam, learn to swim, not lose the memory that nests in their bodies, a secret nucleus. Will the columbine's blue be a shade of violet when it reaches the other side, and the red bee balm become a pear, cinnamon sweet? Will my tench be missing a fin in the light of this new language? Will it have to learn to crawl or walk upright? Does language know how to draw another to it, or only how to turn the other away? Can each word then risk the transit, believe itself invulnerable, dipped in pitch, and hard as steel? It's wonderful that Words Without Borders gives so many words the opportunity to make that transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Tess. That was wonderful. And thank you to each and every one of you for joining us tonight. You've met our contributors from across the world and listened deeply to literature that makes a difference. Your support tonight will help Words Without Borders continue this vital work of seeking out and translating more international writing and reaching more and more readers and students across the globe. Before you continue your conversations and cocktails this evening, I have one final request. If you felt moved by the work you heard tonight, don't keep it to yourself. Help us spread the word. Share a poem with a friend. Tell your child or grandchild's school about Words Without Borders Campus. Purchase a book in translation. Words Without Borders is accessible to all, but we need your help to help grow our community. Thank you. Good evening. Dessert!